All right, let's jump straight into Tablet 7 of the ancient Enuma Elish. Now, if you follow this topic, you know we aren't just looking at some dusty, run-of-the-mill myth today. We are breaking down a truly cinematic explainer of absolute power. This single tablet serves as the ultimate culmination of divine authority for the ancient Babylonians, and it's entirely focused on elevating one figure, the god Marduk, to the literal pinnacle of the cosmos.
Right out of the gate, the text establishes some incredibly high stakes. He's declared Lugul Durma. This isn't just a pat on the back. It's his peers exalting him above all others. He becomes the lord of the binding force of the universe itself. The other gods aren't merely acknowledging he's strong, they are formally, indisputably declaring his total supremacy over reality.
And how exactly do they do that? Through names. One god, 50 names. Absolute power. Giving a deity 50 distinct names is basically the mythological equivalent of handing them the most overpowered resume in the universe. You see, in the ancient world, a name wasn't just a label. It defined your essence. It was a literal manifestation of your authority. So, by dropping 50 titles on him, the high gods are granting him total control over every single facet of existence.
Part 1. The Fall of Tiamat. The Cosmic Battle for Order.
Look, you can't be the undisputed king of the universe without winning a massive war first, right? This perfectly illustrates the core conflict of the whole epic. On one side, you have the violent, chaotic destruction of the sea monster Tiamat. On the other, the deliberate, peaceful order our hero brings to the cosmos. Under the name Circe, he captures Tiamat's cadaver as a spoil of war, literally heaping mountains onto her massive form. But then, and this is the amazing part, as Galima, he creates the encircling band. He brings goodness and order right out of that sheer, terrifying chaos.
To make absolutely sure that chaos never rises again, he takes on the name Neberu. As Neberu, he locks down the very passages of the stars and holds his ground right at the center of the slain monster. Talk about a flex over a vanquished enemy. He becomes the dazzling light in the firmament. No one goes up or down without his say-so. He's the shepherd, and the other gods, they're his sheep, safely guided by his iron will.
Part 2. Architect of the Cosmos. Forging the Universe.
So with the chaos effectively neutralized, the pacing completely shifts. We go from a brutal, cinematic war to the awe-inspiring formation of the universe itself. He doesn't just destroy, he builds. He systematically constructs reality as they knew it, shaping soaring peaks, controlling rushing waters, assigning temple plots to establish order among the gods, and for the grand finale, creating humankind. Each of these specific names acts as a unique title for a different architectural feat. As Mummu, he's the maker of heaven and earth. As Aglama, he banishes the terrible floods, making the land sit safely upon the waters. As Zulum, he divides up creation so the gods have their temples. And, perhaps most importantly for us, as Gishnu Mun Ab, he creates humanity. He single-handedly constructs both the divine and mortal realms.
Part 3. Provider of the Harvest. The god of agriculture.
But here's the thing. He wasn't just some distant, unapproachable creator in the sky. Through these next aliases, we see this rapid-fire power scaling that connects him directly to the daily survival of the people. Under the name Tutu, he's the ultimate restorer. As Ziku, he transforms scarcity into incredible wealth and plenty. And as Agaku, he commands the immaculate spell, capable of bringing actual resurrection and life.
Let's look at how this applies to the very dirt they walked on. For the ancient Babylonians, every single drop of water and grain of wheat was chalked up to his meticulous management. As Enbululu, he guards the pastures. He's Epikudon, the master of canals. As Gugal, he's the lord of plentiful heaping grain. And as Hagal, he provides the massive rains that cause all life to burgeon.
Listen to this imagery, as Adu, his booming voice in the heavens, literally translates to the life-giving rains that sustain humanity. It completely grounds this high fantasy epic in everyday human reality. When the ancients heard thunder rolling in, they were hearing the voice of their supreme provider, dropping the very nourishment they needed to survive.
Part 4. Master of Divine Justice. The Ultimate Judge.
Now, beyond conquering nature, any civilized society requires laws, right? Grouped under the name Shazu, these titles showcase his inescapable justice. As Shazu, he knows the gods' plans and easily separates a lie from the truth. If you're aggressive, his name Zisi will stifle you. Enemy in war, Surhum eradicates you, and Surgurum obliterates your descendants. It is absolute, uncompromising justice. No evil can slip through the cracks.
And this reminds us why all of this matters so much. The ancients fully believed they were being watched by a highly developed mind who guaranteed justice would be served. The text emphasizes that even when he's overcome with anger, he doesn't look away. He faces offenders head-on. That's a huge psychological assurance for a society, knowing that if you do wrong, you will absolutely stand before an all-knowing judge.
Part 5. 50 Names of Power. The Ultimate Resume.
Okay, so now we reach the climax of the narrative. This is where the elder gods officially recognize his absolute supremacy, and these names solidify his unshakable influence. Under the name Kinma, just speaking his name causes the other gods to shudder like an earthquake. As Isisgor, they literally lay gifts at his feet. As Gibel, he determines how effective your weapons are in battle. And as Asheru, he rules the gods of fate themselves.
Then we get this brilliantly dramatic moment. The elder gods actually bow down. Deities like Enlil and Ea willingly hand over their own power and legacy. They don't try to fight him for the throne. They're just so completely in awe of his 50 names and his undeniable might that they gracefully step aside.
In fact, the elder god Ea, who is the traditional god of wisdom, is so overcome with happiness that he actually gives up his own name. He decrees that this new king will administer every single one of his rituals. It is the ultimate passing of the torch. By taking the name Ea, our hero absorbs all the ancient wisdom and magical authority of the older generation. It's the ultimate consolidation of power.
Part 6. A Legacy Cast in Stone. The Unwritten Commandments.
We're going to wrap up this epic by looking at how this myth was deliberately designed to survive the test of time. You see, it wasn't enough to just name him. They had to ensure no one would ever forget. The text actually commands its own preservation. It says his words are commands beyond reproach, as durable as stone. And the heavy responsibility to keep those words alive, that falls squarely on the shoulders of the humanity he created with his own 2 hands.
The text mandates a continuous, unbreakable chain of tradition. First, the men of wisdom and instruction discuss it among themselves. Then, fathers recall the stories and teach them to their sons. And out in the fields, the humble shepherds and herdsmen recall the wise counselor of the gods, ensuring their lands stay productive and secure. It's a complete societal effort.
A scribe was explicitly ordered to transcribe these decrees so mankind could read them far into the future. By invoking the story, uttering his names, and recalling the Song of Marduk, the ancient people believed they were actively participating in the cosmic order. Writing and reciting the text wasn't just storytelling, it was a literal, magical act of preservation.
So here's the thought to leave you with. If a civilization's values are reflected in the gods they worship, what do these 50 names really say about the people who carved them into stone? Think about what this massive, exhaustive list of powers reveals about the Babylonian desire for order, justice, and survival in a highly unpredictable world. They didn't just want a warrior, they needed an architect, a farmer, a judge, and a protector. Looking at these 50 names, you aren't just reading a myth, you're looking into the very soul of an ancient civilization trying to make sense of the universe. It makes you wonder, what kind of overpowered resume would we write for our own era today? Thanks for exploring this with me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.